Hello my lovelies, my name is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So for those of you who don't know, in the past I had covered some of these kind of topics and topical videos with someone that I used to shoot videos with, and now moving forwards on my own channel, I just wanted to rediscuss them on my own, in my own way, if there's anything new I wanted to share on them and things like that. So this week we are discussing transphobia. But before we start, if this is your first visit to my channel, welcome. You're very welcome. You are welcome. If this is your first visit, then welcome to the channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and maybe even the notification bell, just in case you feel like it. Why not? Who knows? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment down below if there's anything you feel I missed out or any questions you have. I do respond to all of the comments, so just let me know. So the definition of transphobia is the dislike and or prejudice towards transsexual or transgender individuals. This can also be extended to people who maybe don't identify as transsexual or transgender but do fall underneath the trans umbrella, gender non-conforming people of trans experience, and things like that. Transphobia in and of itself encompasses the phobia and prejudice towards trans people and is often misquoted as being a genuine phobia, such as homophobia used to be defined as being an actual phobia. But transphobia is globally recognised as prejudice towards a specific group of individuals who are trans people, like myself, possibly like yourself, who knows? So transphobia sucks. Let's just get out of the way. The fact that people have any prejudice towards you just because you're a trans person is absolute bollocks and is so stupid. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first. The fact that transphobia even exists is just ridiculous. Transphobia is also used a lot in the media without kind of the proper delegation that it's transphobia. You'll see news articles, especially recently, you see a lot of news articles about people who have detransitioned, but the way in which the kind of title or the article has been kind of put about has been done in a really transphobic way. So there are certain ways that you can differentiate between someone who is genuinely trying to kind of treat someone with respect and equal and someone who is genuinely being transphobic. And it comes down to things like being misgendered, or someone using your dead name, someone asking for your dead name, and a form of verbal abuse or unacceptance and things like that can all be viewed as being transphobic. Another example of transphobia, which often doesn't get construed as transphobia, is when people say, "I would never date a trans girl." That is transphobic. Saying you would never date someone based on something you can't see is transphobic. You can be attracted to someone who is transgender and not choose to date them because it's not your sexual preference to date someone who's pre-up, and that's a very different thing. But saying you don't like trans women is not only a lie, but saying that you don't like trans people just for being trans is not only most likely a lie, because there are a lot of trans people out there and you have definitely been attracted to at least one of them. And it's also just incredibly transphobic, and that is probably one of the biggest examples of transphobia in the mainstream media, when people are like, "I would never date a trans woman or a trans person," but that in and of itself is transphobia. So that's the definition of transphobia. Have I experienced transphobia? Absolutely. I have been verbally assaulted, physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, all for being transgender, and they were all forms of transphobia. So I have experienced them all firsthand, and it's scary being a trans person in this world and living in a world that has something called transphobia. It is really awful. It's really awful, and it's a way for us to identify when people are doing things towards the community and towards trans people just because we are transgender. So how do we kind of talk about this and how do we move forwards? It's really important that the conversation around transphobia and being transphobic is really clear. Being transphobic is not okay. You may have genuine, legitimate reasons to be kind of phobic of someone, but you do not have genuine, legitimate reasons to be spiteful towards an entire group of people, more than whom you have never met. So it's just this really crazy prejudice that exists in the world, and it's more prevalent in certain places. Countries with laws that prohibit you from being trans, that is a transphobic law, it is against trans people. So it's a really complicated issue to talk about, but I just wanted to take this opportunity with this platform that I have, that I've created, to share with you guys again what transphobia is, kind of how it's used in the media and where to spot it and all of that stuff. It's this subsection of a prejudice that exists for no reason, you know. So how can we combat transphobia? Well, I find that the best way to combat transphobia is to literally just try and educate people. I'm trying to do it on the channel, educating people who are cisgendered, so non-trans, but also doing it in person, or if someone has a question, because often transphobic tendencies come from a couple of places. One of them being a complete lack of education on the subject matter, one of them just being complete prejudice, one of them being fear, and one of them being projection of maybe their own trans feelings that they're not ready to deal with and things like that. So you get a lot of that kind of transphobic energy in many different facets. But another place you get it is within the communities. So within the LGBTQ community, there is a huge amount of transphobia to trans people. You have facets of the LGBTQ community like L without the T and things like that. People who are against trans people just for being trans. People within our own rainbow community against us for just being trans. And there's also transphobia that exists within the transgender community itself, you know. There is so much inequality within the trans community in regards to trans visibility, how people view trans people. There is a huge amount of transphobia within that. So combating that moving forwards, it's just about treating each other much more equally and making sure that we're okay. Transphobia is really difficult. It's difficult to deal with prejudice based on something you can't help. You know, it's really awful. But we're a community, you know, we have all experienced some form of transphobia, and it's about making sure that there's no transphobia within that community so that we can deal with it, because unfortunately there will always be transphobia outside of our community, which is really sad, but what can you do? So that's it for this week's video, guys. I just wanted to kind of do a rundown of what transphobia is, where you see it, maybe how we can deal with it going forwards, where it's prevalent, you know, the media, within our own communities, you know, in hate groups and things like that. So don't let someone's transphobia and prejudice against you stop you from existing your life. You are valid, you are beautiful, what you're doing is hard work. And people who are transphobic and using it as an excuse to kind of just dish out hate, they're so irrelevant to you. You are stronger than them and you can do it, and I believe in you. If you've experienced any transphobia, then please drop it just down below. If anyone would like a story time of a time I've experienced specific transphobia, then let me know and I'd be happy to make that for you guys. As I said in the beginning of this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video if you liked it, and comment and all of that good stuff. And I will see you very soon for another video. Bye!